Hey traders, in this lesson, I want to show you guys how to create a breakout indicator in PineScript using the security function to reference the previous day's high and low. And then we are going to detect breakouts on intraday charts. So the red line you see here is the previous day's high, and the green line is the previous day's low. And what my script here is doing is detecting the very first breakout to the upside. So as soon as a intraday bar on any of these time frames closes above the previous day's high, we get a long signal generated, a alert fires, and our stops and targets are drawn onto the chart. And whenever price action breaks below and closes below the previous day's low, we get a short signal with our stops and targets, and an alert is fired. The script only detects one breakout per day. So once we detect our long breakout, if price action trades back below our previous day's high and then breaks out again, that breakout is ignored. So we only take the first bullish breakout and the first bearish breakout. So if we get a bullish breakout one day and then price retraces to stop us out and then breaks below the previous day's low, we will also get a short signal generated here. But once the bullish breakout fails, the script will no longer detect any future breakouts. And once the breakdown fails, the script will not detect any future breakouts. So we're only detecting a maximum of one bullish breakout and one bearish breakout per new day. Anyway, let me open up the source code to a blank script and get coding. So here I am with a almost blank script. All I have here is some user input that we're getting. We're getting a time frame resolution. By default, it's going to be the daily chart. This is the time frame we are going to reference for our previous highs and lows to determine if we have a breakout. We have our risk reward profile for trade setups that are detected. So this will influence our take profit distance from our entry. Then we have our stop multiplier, which will influence how far our stop loss goes above or below our entry. And then we have our look back, our stop loss look back, which is how far to look back for swing lows and swing highs to base our stop loss on. By default, it's set to 1, so we're having very tight stops here. When we detect a breakout, we want our stop loss to be set below the current bar's low or the previous bar's low based on whichever is lower or higher in the case of a short breakout. So let's move on to the next part of our script where we need to get the highs and lows of our higher time frame. So in this case, I'm going to get the daily high and daily low. For this, we need to use the request.security function. Now, hopefully you're pretty familiar with this function by now, so I'm just going to copy and paste my code over to save time. We're just getting the high and low of the current market loaded onto our chart and the current time and the time frame we pass into our settings menu. And then we have our repaint code here to stop the script from repainting the current bar's high and low if the current bar is a real-time bar. So if the current daily chart bar is still active, we want to draw yesterday's high and low. And if we are on historical price action, the security function will draw the previous day's high and low anyway. So moving on, the next thing we need to do, now that we have our highs and lows, is detect unique breakouts for today. Fix that typo. So the first thing we need to do here is we need to create some flags. So a flag in programming is kind of what it sounds like. It's like once something happens in our script, we generate a flag variable which indicates to the script that it should no longer do something. So in this case, we only want to detect a unique breakout. So if price action breaks out and then the breakout fails and price retraces back into the previous day's range and then we get another breakout, we don't want to trade that second breakout. We're only looking for successful initial breakouts where momentum is strong. To do that, I need two VAR variables. The first one will be called bullish breakout today, and it will be set to false by default. And bearish breakout today, also false. So these are persistent variables that do not get reset on every new bar that loads onto our chart or every historical bar that gets analyzed. We need to reset these manually when we want them to be reset. This will make sense soon when we get to our breakout detection code. But the next thing we need to do is check if we have a new day beginning. If a new price action day is beginning, then we need to reset our unique breakout flags. So to detect a new day in price action, through PineScript, we need to use the ta.change function. And we are looking for a change in the time function for our daily chart. So if time changes on the daily chart, new day will be set to true. And we now know that a new day has begun printing onto our chart. So we can check here, if we have a new day, then bullish breakout today and bearish breakout today needs to be reset to false. So this resets our bullish and bearish breakout flags. The next thing we need to do after this block of code, where we reset our flags on each new day, is check for breakouts. So I need two new Boolean variables here, bullish breakout, I'll just call it bullish BO and bearish BO. And bullish BO is going to be set to, is the current intraday bar's closing price greater than the daily high that we get up here? And was the previous closing price on the intraday bar less than or equal to that same daily high value? Or in other words, is price action crossing above a previous high? So we want the previous bar to be below that high and the current bar to be above that high. And that signals to us that we've had a breakout. So this will detect a breakout whenever it happens, but we don't want to detect multiple breakouts. We only want to detect one breakout per day. And that is where our bullish breakout today flag comes in. So now I need to add on to the end of this bullish breakout check. Do we have a breakout, and have we not had a bullish breakout already today? I can copy this line of code, paste it down here, and flip our operators and change this to daily low and not bearish breakout today. So now we're detecting unique bullish and bearish breakouts on each day, and whenever a new day begins, our breakout flags are reset to false. All that's left to do now is check if we had a bullish breakout detected today, then disable any future signals for today. So here we check if bullish breakout, then bullish breakout today is set to true. So we have had a bullish breakout today, and we do not want to detect any more later on in the day. Now I can copy this code and change everything to bearish. And there we go. We're doing pretty much the same thing here, just with our bearish breakouts and bearish breakout today flag. The final thing to do is calculate our stops and targets. To do that, we need to get the ATR value. So again, we use the ta.atr function for that. I'll just use a default 14 period ATR here. You could add a user input for this if you want to. And then the next thing we do is get stops and targets. So the first thing we need to do is get our long stop price and our short stop price. So here I'm just going to call this long stop and short stop. Long stop is going to be set to the ta.lowest low over our look back period. So by default, that's 1. So we're looking back 1 bar, and whichever bar is lower, the entry bar or the one before that, will be our anchor point for our long stops. And then we need to subtract the current ATR value multiplied by our stop loss multiplier value. So by default, that's just 1.0. So we're having a 1 ATR stop loss below the recent swing low by default using the default settings. But you can obviously change that in the settings menu if you want a tighter or wider stop loss. You could change this to 2.5, for example, or 0.5 to make it half an ATR. Now we need to do the same thing for our short stop, but the opposite direction. We need to get the highest high over our look back period and add on the ATR multiplied by our stop multiplier. Now we have our long stop loss price and our short stop loss price. The next thing to do is calculate the distance in pips or points between our entry price, which is the closing price of our breakout bar, and our stop loss. Then we can use that information to calculate our target price. So here I'm going to create 2 new variables called long stop dist and short stop dist. And long stop dist is going to be our closing price. So if this was a breakout here, we get the closing price minus our stop loss price. That will give us our stop loss distance. So close minus long stop. And for this, because a short breakout would mean that our stop loss is above our entry. Instead of subtracting the stop loss from the closing price, we need to subtract the closing price from the stop loss. So here I can say short stop minus close. And now we have our stop loss distance for both longs and shorts. The final thing to do is generate our long target price and short target price, or calculate those values. To do that, we create two new variables, long target and short target. And long target is going to be the current closing price plus our long stop distance multiplied by our risk reward setting. I can copy this, paste it down here. Our short target is going to be the close minus our short stop distance multiplied by our risk reward setting. So by default, we're just getting a 1-to-1. So our take profit is the same distance as our stop loss. So now if I save my code, hopefully we get no errors. There we go. Everything's good. The last thing to do is to draw the data to the chart. So the first thing we're going to do is draw our highs and lows to the chart. I'm just going to copy and paste this code to save time. We're just going to plot the daily high and the daily low with a color of red and green and align with the two. So let's save the code, see what that looks like. There we go. There's our daily highs and lows drawing. The next thing we need to do is draw our entry signals or setup signals. So for that, I use the plot shape function. We're just checking bearish breakout and bullish breakout, which are these two variables here. And we're just drawing a triangle up and down, above and below the current bar with a color of red and green based on short and long breakouts. So let me save that code. And we should now be getting green and red arrows above and below bearish and bullish breakouts of the previous day's high and the previous day's low. So far, so good. The last thing to do here is draw our stops and targets. So let me paste that in here. So all I'm saying here is I'm saying, do we have a bearish breakout? If so, draw our short stops and our short targets with a color of red and green and a style of plot.style line break. So we want to break the line between signals so we don't get this wonky stop loss and take profit lines connecting to each signal. We want the line to break whenever a new signal is detected. And then the same for our bullish breakouts. We're just plotting our short stop price and our short target price, long stop price and long target price, only if we have just detected a setup. If we have not detected a setup, we draw nothing. We just plot NA onto the chart. So when I save this code, we should now be getting our stops and targets drawing onto the chart. And you can see that I've trained my eye well to know roughly what a 1 ATR distance is from a swing high, because I just drew straight over that before it even popped up. And anyway, that just about does it for our script. The final thing to do, if we want to trade this, and I'm not saying you should trade this, it may be profitable depending on the techniques you use to enter and exit your trades. Maybe you want to add extra filters to this sort of approach to trading. Maybe you want to have a different exit reason so that you don't have a fixed target. Maybe you want a trailing stop so that you can catch more of the move. Like here, for example, taking a 1-to-1 on this trade was a bit of a waste since we had this huge move here. You could have exited at a bearish engulfing candle or simply just trailed your stop loss below swing lows as price moved higher. There are a lot of different ways to take profits in your strategies, obviously. We'll cover taking profits in more advanced ways in the strategy section of the course. For now, this is just a breakout indicator. But it's kind of useless at the moment because it won't tell you when a breakout occurs. Let's change that by adding in a alert condition. So here I can say trigger alerts, and we can split these if we want to. We can have two alert conditions. The first one can be for bullish breakouts, and the title can be bullish daily breakout alert. Actually, let's shorten this title to just bullish breakout. And we'll set the message to long breakout detected for, and then put in our ticker placeholder so that we know which market this occurred on. And I can paste that line down there again, change this to bearish, change this to bearish, and this to short. And now we are done. If I get rid of my white space here, save my code. Of course, the code will be below the video here if you want to explore this further in more detail. But that is the end of this lesson. If I come up to our alerts dialog, we can select our script and we can select between bullish and bearish breakouts. And that's it. Whatever you set up here in the settings menu will dictate how the alert behaves. So if you set it to once per bar close, then you will only be notified when the breakout is confirmed. If you set it to once per bar, then you'll get an alert even when the signal isn't confirmed. So here, for example, we had a fake breakout. Price broke the previous day's low, but failed to close here, and the bulls pushed it back up. So it was a false breakout. If you don't want to be notified about false breakouts, set the alert to once per bar close. If you do want to be alerted when a breakout is occurring in real time, set it to once per bar. But I would encourage you with any of your systematic strategies to wait for confirmation. Wait for that bar to close, because you never know when this might happen and stop you out. Waiting for that close is a much better technique. Anyway, that will do it for this lesson. I will speak with you in the next one. As I mentioned earlier, the code is below. Have fun tinkering with it.